Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our meeting tonight. I want to thank you for taking the time out of, I'm sure, a very busy schedule, a very eventful day. I can tell you that I've had one as well, but we've gotten to this point, and we're very, very thankful. So on behalf of Bessie Cooper Harris, the other regional vice president, and myself, Ricky Pitts, again, thank you. Tonight, we're going to talk about this subject, and we're going to really hone in on single mothers. And it's more single mothers now in our families, in our churches, on our jobs, in our community than it has ever been before. And they have to, so to speak, be mother and father. They have to go to all the games. They have to provide, cook, be a doctor, psychiatrist, all kind of things that single mother has to do. But it's really important that she understands, and most of the times it's she as opposed to he. It's a few single dads as well, but for the most part, it's single mothers. And at some point, you're going to have to be able to retire, leave the job for the last time, and be able to come home and enjoy the fruit of your labor. And it's important, if those things are to be, it's critically important to have a game plan in place. And we're going to talk about that tonight. We're going to talk to also everybody in general, but I want to hone in on the single moms that's out there today. What you see on the screen here, that people don't plan to fail, they fail to plan. They don't plan to get to a time in life to say, I plan to get right here and not be able to retire. They didn't plan to be a single mom for that period of time or for an extended period of time. But you know what? It happened. And so without some kind of contingency plan to be able to pick it up and keep it moving, it could be very, very difficult. And without financial plans in place, it makes it even harder. So I'd like to encourage you to pay close attention tonight, take some notes, and then plan on sharing what you'll learn tonight. Although these are fundamentals, with others that you know in the school district, in the hospitals, in the State Department, in the community, everywhere where single moms exist, and they are in every sector. That being said, this is the problem. The financial institutions sell products, but what they don't do is provide a total solution. And what you see on the screen there is the mortgage, pointing at the very top, credit cards on the right, and installment loans, which includes car payments and student loans, and on it goes. And those three arms that you see right there can take up a great percentage, sometimes 35% of the total household income. On the bottom, 401k, savings accounts, mutual funds, those things are very important. But those things don't get much money because those on the top right dominate the household budget and gets the majority of the income. And at some point, the things on the bottom are going to be the ones that are going to deliver us when it comes to retirement and leaving the job for the last time. On the left side, you see the bank accounts. The bank accounts is for things that don't carry a balance. Let's look at it from that standpoint for food, utilities, gas, giving, child care, eating out, hairdresser, barbershop, after school programs, going on school trips, basketball. Some of you got kids playing basketball, football, softball, and track. Then all the sports, and it's all over the place. It's running and running and running, and not really having time to get anything done for yourself. So tonight we're going to talk about how we can pull all that together. Then the next one that you see here is life insurance. Now, can you imagine if one of them were to die, or if she dies with one child, two kids, three or four, with no life insurance? Imagine how that looks. It's going to be really tough for the children and whomever is taking care of the children. Now, let's talk about how we address that. First of all, it's a financial needs analysis. It's going to look at two things in the beginning. You see an iPad there and an iPhone. The iPad is designed to look down the road when it's time to retire and to show them how to put money aside and how it looks 20 years, 30 years, or at retirement down the road. The iPhone is talking about life insurance and having the right kind and having the right amount. And we're going to talk about that in a moment. Then there's a total financial needs analysis. And what that is like a financial GPS. You see, if I needed to get to your location, whether it be your business or employer, whatever it may be, I don't know how to get there. You give me the address, I still don't know. If I put that in my GPS, it's going to put me in your parking lot, in that front yard, because that global positioning system can identify and give me clear directions on how to get there. The same rule applies when it comes down to our financials. We need to have clear directions. We don't need to guess, wonder, ring. We need to have clear directions. I want to talk to you now about that debt part. Let's talk about those three on the right side and how we get rid of some of that debt. There's an old concept called debt stacking. You got 5 obligations here. They all came to $27.20 per month. The one on the very top, that retail card, number 1, will be paid off at some point. And that's going to free up $220 a month. Now, what we're saying is this. Don't take that $220 and go buy something else and say, oh boy, I can, Take that $220 and roll it to that credit card number 2, which is $353. Now you're going to send them a grand total of $573. At some point, that credit card number 2 is going to be paid out. Now you got $573 freed up. Take that $573, pull it down, add it to that car loan payment, that car payment, which is $551, and now send them a grand total of $1124. $1124 is freed up. Don't take $1124 and make another bill. Take $1124 and bring it down to credit card number 1, which is $303 right now. Add that to it. Gonna send them now $1427 a month. And let me stop right there. If we free up $1427 per month, we all know that temptation walks in the room like a human being and has all kind of ideas and suggestions to do with that $1,400 a month. So we are encouraging don't listen, don't heed, don't yield to that temptation if in fact the goal is to get out of debt. So let's look at that 1427. If we add that 1427 to the principal of the mortgage right now is $1,293. That's principal and interest. Put that whole 1427 on the principal only, and now send that payment, that house payment, the whole $2720 per month. Now let's talk about if they don't do it. If they don't do it, they're 35 years old. They'll be in debt for 23 more years until they're 58 years old. They're going to pay $214,000 in interest alone. If they do it, look at what happens. They'll be out of debt in 9 years. That's 14 years sooner. And they're going to avoid $130,000 in interest alone. And all that money, $130,000, can be added to the retirement, which is those bottom 3 arrows we talked about, 401ks, mutual funds, and savings. You see, we're going to get old one day if the good Lord gives us grace, unless we die young. And it's important to plan for a place that we're going to be in for the rest of our lives. That place is our future. And we're going to talk about how important it is to take a strong look at those 3 arrows on the bottom. And although it may be hard, but what's even harder is to get to a time in life when we want to come home and enjoy, sit on the front porch and watch the kids play, whatever the picture is in your mind, and not be able to do it because I still have to go to work at 75 years old, 80 years old. Let's take a look at what we call the 3-account system. So to have a complete saving programs, most people need 3 types of basic accounts. Number 1 is an emergency fund because emergencies come up at any time. Number 2 is a short-term savings. This is for the down payment on a home, at some point the down payment on a car. That's what that part is for. And then there's long-term. This long-term is because at some point we're going to retire, as I mentioned. Now, we'd like to retire. Everybody wants to be in a position to retire, but there's something that has to be done right now to make sure that that happens when it happens. And for some, that's one age, for some, that's another age. Let's talk about that. The high cost of waiting. When anyone does not prioritize their savings, there is a high cost of waiting. Now, here's an example. Let's imagine we have a young couple, 25 years old, and he said, I'm going to save $25 a week. He says, I'm going to save $25 a week. Single parent, it's hard to do that. But let's say that somehow they pull it from here and pull it from there, and they put aside $50 out of every paycheck, or $50 every week, $200 a month. What happens then in 40 years at 9%? $943,280. I know this works. I was talking to someone that's one of my clients not very long ago, single mother, worked for a long period of time, and didn't even really look at the investments. When she got to the end of the journey, it was time to come home. When she saw what she had, she was blown away because she just set it and forgot it. Almost $1 million in her account. Single mother, working hard, raised her kids without any real help. But look what happened down the road. She put that money aside, and when it got to time to retire, now she's enjoying. She does whatever she wants to do, when she wants to do it. No time clock anymore. Put it off for 1 year. 26 years old. They're going to save $2,400 by waiting 1 year. But the high cost of waiting is this, $83,200. Because when they would have had 943, they only have 860. So you see the point. So the question then becomes, who are people hurting when they wait? When we procrastinate, when we put things off, who do we hurt? We hurt ourselves. And this is even more so with our single moms, because again, they have to take care of things all themselves, and it can be kind of hard. So budgeting then has to become a way of life. Don't have the option to splurge. Budgeting is a way of life. And then the communication has to be with the children that mama just can't do this because this is what I have coming in, and these are the obligations. You got to eat, have school, all the other things that are essentials. It's important to have that hard conversation. Again, we're talking to everyone, but specifically tonight to our single mothers. One, I was raised by a single mother, so I know the struggle of a mom raising 4 boys. How she did it, it was the grace of God, because through many dangers, toils and snares, she's already come. So it was grace that brought her safe this far, and I know grace carried her on. Same thing for you today. And you can get this done. So let's talk now about that life insurance arrow. Let's talk about something called the theory of decreasing responsibility. Well, in the early years, there's a big need for life insurance. Why? Because the kids are young, high debt, house mortgage, loss of an income would be devastating. But as time progresses, the need for life insurance starts to go down because the kids are grown, the debts are lower, the mortgage is paid. We got to have some cash money on the other side. When I say the other side, during retirement, we have to have something we could pull from that's enough to last for the rest of our lives. And then if there's something left, then that's legacy. That's generational wealth. That leaves that to the next generation. You see, there's 2 major risks we have to always protect ourselves against. One is dying too soon and leaving the family in a bad, bad place. One is living too long and getting to a time in life when we should be enjoying the fruit of our labor and can't come home. I heard a documentary not long ago. A man 82 years old, 82, 83 years old, had to go back in the classroom because he didn't have anything saved. He said right now in the classroom talking to young kids, he's telling everybody now, as soon as you start working, start planning for retirement that week. Don't put it off for a month. Don't put it off for 3 months. We have a goddaughter right now. She's 16. We're going to start her in a Roth IRA because she's working to start putting money aside right now. Our daughter started at 16. So down the road, not that far down the road, they got something they can depend on. Now, let's talk about, let's stay on that subject of life insurance. And if somebody were to pass, how does that look? I asked that question the other day. If you were to pass today, how does that look for your family? Think about that. If you're married right now, if one of you were to die, how does it look for the wife and children? How does it look for the husband and children? How does it look for the children and single mom? There's a way to make sure that those things are in place. When I say those things, funds, generational wealth, legacy, so they can still keep it moving. So there's something out there now called Index Universal Life. That's not what we don't believe in it, but I want to talk to you about how it works. 35 years old, John, 35-year-old Mary, they're paying $251 a month. Agent told them that at 65 years old, you got $127,000 saved, and it sounds pretty good so far. If you have to get into a tight spot, you need to borrow some money, you can borrow from that cash value and pay a much lower interest rate than you will at a bank. If you don't pay that money back before you die, no worries. They just take it off the top of the life insurance before the family gets anything. They said it's a pretty good deal. At least I'm getting something. But let's talk about another concept. Nothing wrong with the companies are good companies. They're strong companies. It's the concept that we take issue with. Now let's take a look at, they can put that same 251 in the family budget. And here it is, they're going to get the same $250,000 on each one of them, on John and on Mary. But here's the difference. They're paying $88 a month. They have the same $250,000. Of the 251, only 88 of it is paying for the life insurance. Now, so far, that's just basic math. That's not trigonometry, geometry. We know that 88 is better than 251. But what are they saving? Look at this. They're saving $163 a month by buying term insurance. And here, this is a 30-year level term. You say, why do they buy term insurance? Because they need it for a term. They have kids for a term. They have a mortgage for a term. They got a car payment for a term. They need life insurance for a term. When the kids are grown, debts are lower, mortgages paid, it has served its what? Purpose. Now let's look at what they would have done with that 163 that's left over. They're going to take that 163 and put that in a Roth IRA. That's $300,000. Well, $300,649. If they die right here at this point, the family gets the $300,000 and the $550,000. They don't just get one or the other. And think about this. If they needed to take money out of their account, they're 65 years old. They don't have to borrow it out. They withdraw it out. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't like to use the word borrow and my money in the same sentence. They can withdraw it out and not have to pay anything back. As a matter of fact, with a Roth IRA, they don't touch it for the first 5 years, what they're putting in. When they take it out, they take out every dime tax exempt, tax free, no penalties and no taxes. That is a big, big, big deal. Now, how do we get that done? We can't do all that by ourselves. So what you see here are our business partners. Rocket Mortgage is a business partner. Fidelity is a business partner. Lincoln, Equitable, Investco, our business, Franklin Templeton, Legal Protection. Let's talk about that legal protection for a little bit. There's so many folks right now, and I want to really also bring this home for our single moms that doesn't have a will, don't have a living will or durable financial power of attorney. Then something happens, now the government, the state got to decide who's going to take care of the babies. So this is what we do is very, very important in building the financial house and making sure there's clear directions for whoever's left behind, or there's clear directions for you if you live a long time. This is critical information. Now I'm going to change gears a little bit now. Now this last part, you can give me about 10 more minutes. You might not have an interest on this, I don't know. But if you would, give me maybe 10 more minutes and let's just listen in. It may be someone that you know that has an interest in generating income, working part-time, making another $1,000 or $1,500 a month or $2,000 a month, working from home, teaching these concepts. Now, let me tell you why we believe that's so important. 57%, almost 60% of Americans would have a hard time putting their hands on $1,000, not for a vacation, not for some tires on the car, for an emergency. 1,000. And sometimes this is after working for 5 years, 10 years, or 15 years. Another reason why the majority, 60% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. Now, that's not meant to be an indictment against anybody. It's not meant to be a condescending statement. It's a statement of fact. And what we're saying is something has to change. We can't continue to live that way after paying all the dues, doing everything, have done everything we were told to do, and it's still like this, metal to metal. There's a way out. And sometimes that way out is information, education, but we have to have implementation to make it all come together. Now, let me show you another really important question here. The question here is why? Why do so many people fail when it comes down to their finances? Why? Because most people then conform. Most have been indoctrinated. They've been taught their whole lives that the best way to live a good life, get you a good secure job with some good benefits, become a real good employee, and you should be okay. The question is, how's that working out for many people that you know so far? What we see on the screen here are representations of teachers and nurses and social workers and attorneys and employees with the state, and on it goes, all backgrounds, all walks of life. So I didn't sign up to play politics. I didn't sign up to work this hard to make 40,000, 45,000, 50,000 a year. I didn't sign up to do the job of 4 people. How do you know you're doing the job of 4 people? When you leave, they get 4 people to do what you did by yourself. Many in the room today, you know that's true. And it's time for many here today to make that change. Let me show you what happened here. These people that you see on the screen decided to come in part-time and make extra income. And you see what the incomes are on the screen. You see what they did, what they do for a living right now full-time, and what they're making part-time. Those figures are part-time. Now, let's say they decided to go full-time. This group here left their job, and obviously they're going to make more money because they got more time to put in. But what the company allows us to do to build a 6-figure income, they allow us to do the same thing that they do in real estate. Very similar. You got a broker, and the broker can bring in teachers and officers and firemen and housewives and dads to sell houses part-time. And they do what they do full-time. Well, we can do the same thing. We can bring in people part-time. They can keep their full-time jobs, but they can make some really good extra income once they've learned what we do. And as they teach, listen to this, they're being taught. It's worth it just for the education. And then this group right here build a bigger team, just like you would in real estate, build a bigger team. And they're making $300,000, $400,000 a year. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not mystical or magical. As I often say, this is mathematical. They got more time. They build a bigger team of distribution. So obviously, they're going to make more income. And I'm saying, just consider. Nothing fails but a try. Now, let's go a little bit further here. And what does it take to get in part-time? Not a whole lot of money at all. You pay $99. That's not for us. That's for your state application, your state exam, processing, appointment fee with the company, and being fingerprinted. If you did that on your own, it's close to $500. Then there's another part. There's a support system. It's only $25. So $124, those two together. But that $25 is for your cell phone discount, your own website, business reports, live on-demand training. That's like $105 a month. And you don't have to stop there. You can decide, hey, listen, I want to become a broker dealer representative. I want to learn about investing. I want to learn about the fundamentals of setting up Roth IRAs and 529s for college and all gift accounts for kids. I want to learn about all of that. UTMAs. I want to learn about all of that. How can I do it? The company gives you and me and us the tools to get that done, and they pay for it. To get that license to do investments, it would cost approximately $1,500. If you decide to come on board and get that license, the company is going to pay for all of that. All they want you to do is bring the sweat equity and bring the studying habits, the discipline to study. It's intriguing just studying for the material, just learning this, learning what a great percentage of the population, a great majority, don't know. And you're going to gain that knowledge and you're going to do it on a part-time basis. That's incredible. Ladies and gentlemen, what would you get by doing this part-time? Number one, education. I just mentioned that on personal finances. Number two, flexibility. You work around your time. Number three, a part-time business, a plan. There can be a plan B that can bridge you over to a full-time business. And so Primerica then, what do? In a nutshell, four things. We show families how to get properly protected, how to start investing for the future, how to learn how to become debt-free, earn more income part-time, and we teach people how to take control of their money by making informed decisions. Not just a decision, but making informed decisions. Ladies and gentlemen, our meetings are not designed to be an hour and a half, an hour, because what we're talking about tonight is just common sense information that we can see it and we can come to a logical conclusion that it just makes sense to make sure I'm okay if I leave here prematurely. It makes sense to make sure I put something back because just as sure as you're born, you're going to get old. As sure as you're born, you're going to die. It just makes sense for me to pay off these high credit cards where the interest is through the roof, and I have a game plan to get that done. It just makes sense for me to have a budget, a written budget. And sometimes, in many cases, it just makes sense for me, for you, to do something part-time, to generate extra income. And if I can learn as I earn, it's a win-win for everybody. Hey, look, thank you so much for joining in with us tonight. We appreciate it more than we can tell you. We're going to have another meeting like this 2 weeks from now, and we'll put it out to our team so they can get it out to anyone that likes to attend. We'd encourage you to bring somebody else with you. Bring a brother or sister, son or daughter. Bring a mother or father, a co-worker. Bring the church members. Bring the pastor and assistant. Bring anyone that you know to that next meeting. Sometimes you got to hear it again before it really sinks in. Thank you for your time. Y'all have a great rest of the week, great rest of the night. Look forward to seeing you again on our next meeting. Y'all take care.